Welcome back to Raising Truth Podcast. Today, we are finally doing an all about homeschool episode. I've been getting a couple of questions in my inbox about homeschooling, my journey ever since I've been sharing, more about how that's been and some of the things that we do. I want to encourage you that if you're a first-time homeschooler like myself, or the only one in your family that homeschools, you don't really know like anyone in your family or friends that homeschool themselves, you reach out to, anyone that you do know. Don't be afraid to reach out, right? Because you can't get started. You might really want to, but you don't know where to start and you're scared or you don't know. Don't be afraid to reach out to any homeschooling mom. I'm pretty sure they are more than willing and they'll happily share with you their journey and, help you get started on, what resources, right, to look into. That's exactly what I did. I didn't really know many homeschooling moms. I knew like maybe two or three. But I reached out, and that's what kind of started me on that journey of just like diving in and like doing all of the research. So I'm here to make it a little bit easier for you, especially since I've had more and more people ask me all sorts of questions like, where do you start? What kind of things do you use? Etc. etc. I want to personally shout out, a mom who, one of the moms that I first reached out and I was like, I'm thinking about doing it. I'm going to do it. Where do you start? She has her own page on Instagram and Facebook, I believe, called The Powerful Mama. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. The Powerful Mama. She homeschools her own tribe of beautiful boys. And she's just amazing. She's always sharing tons of support for moms. She is Christian. Okay. Can't leave that out. So for all my Christian mamas, she is Christian. She shows support for moms and she shares all the homeschool content. And she's always sharing like ideas, things that she does, resources, and all that stuff, which is awesome. Because anytime I'm like, I'm all fresh out of ideas or what to do or what else can I do about a certain subject, blah, blah, blah. She's always sharing all that stuff, which is amazing. And I'm always like, that is so cool. Whatever it is you're doing, like send me the link or all that. She's always putting all the links and all that stuff. But shout out to her because, again, I reached out to her and she told me exactly, where to start and what was told to her, right? Again, you learn on the way, but you just need like, okay, where do I even begin? Okay, because you're going to learn from all sorts of moms. You're going to learn from moms that just, let's say a year into homeschooling, right? What their first year looks like, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're going to have your seasoned homeschooling moms who've been homeschooling for years and, have multiple children who they, homeschooled. So there's such a variety of information that you can get. The question is, where do you begin? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to make it easier for you. I'm going to give you the inside scoop, right? Where do I begin? Don't be afraid to get informed, right? Saying, I'm curious, what's like, can I do it? First of all, if you're determined, you can make that happen. So it is completely up to you. The question is not, can you do it? Is, are you going to make it happen if you really want to do it? Okay. But I'm going to make it a little bit easier so that at least you are making an informed choice. So where do you begin? The questions always begin around legality, right? What am I legally required to do or have in order to homeschool, right? Number one, are you required to have, a teaching degree, right? Like, do you have to be a certified teacher? From what I've seen, most states, no, you do not. Most states, they require you to be, right, obviously the adult, the parent, right, legally, but also have a high school diploma or equivalent. Seems to be the common ground, right? But, however, aside from that, every single state has their own requirements when it comes to what are their rules and regulations, what are you required to submit in terms of paperwork, and all the details of what you're supposed to do throughout the school year. Now, each state is different. So where do you go? A great source, hslda.org. I'm going to put it on the description box and all that, but hslda.org. This is a helpful resource. In that website, you'll get all the information about homeschooling, and in every single state, they offer legal support. If you ever encounter, states, cities, counties that are giving you a hard time, even if you are doing your part, right? Legally, you're doing what you're required to do, etc. But some people don't know, right? They fall into this trap and getting stuck into this whole thing. You can go to them and they'll help you. They have support for that because, again, this is why there's the rules and regulations listed in each state. Some states, especially for the highly regulated states, they will try to get more than you have to give or try to control more than they're legally able to. Anyway, that's a whole other topic. But it's great to be informed of every single detail so that okay, I am doing what I am legally required to do, right? So that doesn't backfire on you and you are informed. The great thing about the website, it gives you a map of the United States, shows you it's color coded to the most highest regulated state and to the lowest regulated state or little to no regulation, or moderate, right? Kind of in the middle. I started in what's considered one of the most highly regulated states, which is New York. I believe it's New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania are like color coded as like burgundy, like the most highest regulated state. Which is another reason why I was like, I'm going to be homeschooling, especially, I do not plan on staying here. I'm in Georgia now. Georgia's considered, I believe it's considered a low moderation, low regulation. And it's been amazing. There's a huge booming homeschooling community out here. So many resources, so many things you could do. I mean, we love it. Layla loves it. Okay. We're always, out doing something. Anyway, but the number one thing, like for example, for the state of Georgia, there, you have to give a document, of intent or letter of intent. New York still requires this as well. You do it at the beginning of the year from age 6. So if you start before, you're not legally required to do anything. But once they turn 6 years old, you're required to give this document. This document tells what the name of the child is, how old they are, what's your school year going to be, like from what month to what month are you going to be planning to homeschool. You're supposed to, basically accommodate for the 180 days though, but you are free to choose when you want to end, when you want to start, when you want to end, how do you want to do that? And that's, you submit that. The great thing about the state of Georgia is that you submit that document to the Department of Education in Georgia. In New York, you had to submit it to the superintendent of your district. So that's the only thing that sucks, because I've heard that there are many superintendents, districts that are not homeschooling friendly, and they basically try to give a hard time with the documents, accepting them, requiring you or trying to require you to do more or give more information than you're legally required to do. So, great thing about Georgia, you submit it directly to the Department of Education. I don't have to deal with the superintendents of my district, none of that. I don't even know who it is. So the state of Georgia, because it's a low regulated state, there's not other paperwork required of me during the year, which is great. I don't have to give a detailed account. I have the freedoms to do that, right? I'll teach my child according to my beliefs and values. They do just generally state like, okay, you have to include math, reading, language arts, science, social studies, like basically making sure that the child is covering, the general subjects, which is fair, right? You want your child to have a well-rounded education. But they don't tell you like you have to do it a certain way. They don't require any other documentations. They don't require a list of what books I'm using. New York does. They don't require quarterly reports. New York does that too. But they do require after third grade, I believe from starting third grade, if I'm not mistaken, where you do a test, an end of year exam of your choice every other year. So like every 2 years or every 3 years, something like that. But the state of Georgia doesn't require you to submit any of this. You keep them for I think like 5 years. I don't remember, but you basically keep your records of the testing, and then you do like end of year notes, basically like whatever your notes are and stuff for the end of the year and things like that. You keep that for your records, right? For your assessment. Every such an amount of years. You don't have to submit it. It's basically for your records. You keep it for a certain amount of years, basically in case for whatever reason you find yourself having to provide these proofs, etc. Anyway, so number 1, hslda.org will tell you what your state requires you to legally do. It's important to be informed, and to make sure, like in the case, again, if you ever get in a situation where you're questioned, you are doing your part. The great thing about homeschooling is the flexibility, right? The second thing to do is research and reach out homeschooling communities. This is so important. Again, the mom I was telling you to follow, she told me join all those Facebook groups, all those community groups and circles, join them. Join the conversation basically, because there you will see all of the family's experiences, all the different curriculums, all the programs that are out there, all of their experiences in terms of what they do, don't do, what worked, didn't work. It gives you a chance to understand what homeschooling is like. Now, again, there's all different types of homeschoolers, right? There are different types. Like, I'm not even for the purposes of this video, I am not going to go into what those groups are. But basically, you have to also, like, there's different groups, like, for example, based on learning style. If you're doing a certain learning style, like Montessori, Charlotte Mason is another one. I forget what the other ones are. But anyway, there's a bunch of different ones. And if you're, wanting to go down a certain route in terms of learning style, there's groups for that too, because there's curriculums and resources that align with that. So do your research in what kind of learning styles there are, and if you want to dedicate to one, or if you're mixing to some. Again, it also depends on what are your family goals, what works best for your child, right? Because that's the whole point, is focusing on your child's need. The great thing about homeschooling is that you can tailor it to your family goals and values and what your child needs. It's individualized. You don't have to worry about the other 20-something students in the classroom. No, you're working with your child one-on-one. What works for them? What is the best way for them to learn? And that's the most amazing part of homeschooling. So these homeschooling groups, I got to learn so much, because even if I'm not asking a question in the forums, I'm just reading. I'm reading people's questions that they post, and then I'm reading answers, because that's how I learn. I can see what people's preferences are. I can learn what are the different, styles, what are the different curriculums, etc. And also, again, I'm searching specifically on Christian homeschooling. But there's other, let's say, for lack of better words, secular resources that are not bad that you can use, right? Like, there can be certain curriculums that you can use that are not Christian per se, like meaning they're not teaching Bible or using Bible references in there, but they're not including anything in there that goes against our values, and it becomes a beneficial resource, right? Again, it's you getting to decide based on your family's preferences, goals, beliefs, and what works best for your child. But join those forums, join those Facebook groups to see what's out there. I promise you, once you start, you'll just go down a rabbit hole of research and conversations and all. There's no, oh my God, like you just opened a whole new world, right? Like of homeschooling that you don't even know until literally you get in there and like see. It's kind of like, before you become a mom and now you become a mom, it's like a whole new world, like how you see. It's the same thing. You would never look at public education the same. But again, map out. That's what once you start doing your research and all that, map out what your goals are, what your preferences are. Make that clear. Like that's the key here, is figuring out, okay, what are my goals and preferences? Mine, right, of course, is a Christian household. So I want to make sure that I am doing Bible-based activities. I'm, still covering the subjects, but I would love to be able to cross-reference, the Bible in there and have let's say in the reading aspect or even the map, have those references in there where we're not shying away from Jesus in our regular studies, right? I want that. I want to cultivate independence, independent thinking, open expression, right? Creativity, not hinder that, not hinder play, right? At the young age, play is the best way to learn. Okay. But that's my household, right? Another number one key, okay, when you're getting into homeschooling is homeschool is not public school at home. So let me tell you right now, you are not going to understand or even get the fullness of what homeschooling really is if you come in this expecting public school. It is not doing virtual school. Like, for example, what happened during COVID, that is not homeschool. That's just virtual class from public. That's virtual public school. That's not actual homeschooling. That's just virtual public school. And that's the first thing, especially if you've been years in the public school system yourself, or if you were working in, you got your handful of teachers that believe hardcore public school is the only, number one thing, like they have to, right? Public school has obviously its benefits for the parents who choose that, who need that, right? But they don't have to, right? Like it's not a have to, it's not a need where you can't become a educated, creative, independent, successful individual without it. Okay. But then you have your teachers that have been through it and they'll tell you themselves, homeschool your child. Right. But then when you're getting in it, you have to detach from that mentality. So again, it is not public school at home at all. So you have to let go of what you think homeschooling needs to look like. It's not going to look a certain specific way. Like every person's homeschooling experience is not going to look the same. And every single experience with your child, like even, day to day, right? It's not going to look a certain way. And it's not, you're going to sit down for every subject for a certain amount of hours. Like there's so much flexibility. And that's the point of homeschool, that you can learn through so many different ways. You can learn through life and life experiences. You can cultivate it however you want. Like one day is going to look like this and another day is going to look like this. But they're still learning, right? It's not what you think you need it to look like, where it has to be very 1, 2, 3, very rigid. Again, that's the beautiful part of homeschooling, is that flexibility, and you need to be open-minded to that. Otherwise, you're not going to get the true benefits of homeschooling if you want it to be public school. And that's a whole thing, right? Yes, if you've worked in the school, it can help you in the sense of, for me, I've worked for many years before having my kids in early intervention programs and right in schools and all different types of schools, and it helps to create activities, right? Understanding, what I do use that helps me is just understanding developmental needs and goals, right? Is your child developmentally where they're at? Are they progressing? What are their needs at this age, right? Developmentally, what are the goals or the milestones? That's the word I was looking for, the developmental milestones, right? Understanding that is helpful, right? So me working those years in the schools helped me to understand what that looks like. When you understand it, then okay, I'm not going to force certain things or have to be like super rigid and strict or have certain, like, you have to do like a certain amount of things or whatever the case is. No, it helps you understand your child and guide them towards that, and understanding where they're at, where you're not expecting more from them than's necessary to reach these goals or to learn, etc., etc. That part is helpful. But it's not like you need it to work in school right now. Do your research for that, and I hope you understand. Again, you don't have to be no teacher, previous teacher in order to do this. You can do it as long as you put in the work, because this is what you really want to do. Another thing that has helped me from working in like the early intervention programs with children with special needs and behavioral therapist programs is that I learned behavior, like how to adequately and appropriately deal with behaviors that arise. Those techniques and tools have been helpful. But again, do your research. Like when you're dealing with those issues, do your research to help you. But those are just, I guess, some of the benefits of having that experience of what it gave me in homeschooling. But it's not required. As you go along, you research and you learn. Again, it's a learning journey just for you as much as it is your child. The great thing about homeschooling, again, is the flexibility. It's being flexible, right, to the needs of your child, and the flexibility that you guys can explore anything you want at any given moment. Spend more time in something that your kid is extra curious about. You don't have to rush through any single topic. Like, capitalize on those moments where they're extra interested in something. Another, thing, again, what are your family goals and values? I mean, some people are highly thrive on like super structure. Others are more flexible. Like, oh, okay, you're working out right now. This time works better for you to do this subject, et cetera, et cetera. They kind of really let the child lead on that in terms of what works better. What are you prioritizing, right? What are certain subjects that you want to prioritize? Things like that. The great thing, again, individualizing to your kid. I try to capitalize, and again, it doesn't have to be just morning. You can homeschool in the afternoon if that works better. So like if you're a part-time working parent and let's say you work only in the morning or only in the evening, you can still homeschool, right? Like it's still possible. For me personally, I notice most of the hardcore subjects like reading, especially if she has more trouble with it, I get it done in the morning where she's like still more focused, right? She's an early riser, so like she already has a long morning as it is. I capitalize on that moment. I know that if I leave that reading language arts to the evening, I lost her. Math and all that, she could do that on the fly in the car, and she loves it. She has she doesn't have as much of a hard time with it, so I can be flexible in but reading is definitely like a dedicated moment sometime in the morning that happens. But again, you choose what works. Do it how you want. There's no right or wrong. Again, it's what works for you. The flexibility of doing it anywhere. You can do it anywhere. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be directly in your home. You can do it in the park, the library, the car, on vacation. As long as learning is happening, you're getting stuff done and your child is growing, right? Those are the goals. Now, again, there's so many. Another common question, socialization. A lot of people are like, well, how do they socialize? Public school is so necessary because of socialization. Not true. When you think about it, what's happening in a classroom aside from recess and, let's say, special activities or group sessions, etc.? What's happening? You got like a bunch of kids who you're telling them to be quiet and do their work and stop talking, or you penalize kids who's talking too much to their peers, right? So again, there's so many, you have way more socialization options in homeschooling. Not only do they get to socialize with all sorts of kids, right? Such a variety of kids, but they get to socialize in different experiences, different places, right? We have homeschooling outings that happen, not just, let's say, field trips at museums and stuff. We can go to all sorts of different parks, all sorts of libraries. I mean, we can go literally anywhere and have all sorts of homeschool. Like, you find your homeschooling community out there, and you can literally meet all different types of people in all different types of places. So there's socialization happening. If the child and the parent decides to stay home all day and never go out, then that's different, right? Then there's no socialization happening. But that's not the case. All the homeschoolers, they're out there. They are experiencing the world. So there is so much that they're gaining from that. There's socialization, and then there's the experience of literally learning by being out there in the real world, right? There's so many cool places and things that I've been able to experience and even see behind the scenes stuff that a lot of places open up to be able to do for homeschoolers. Like, you'll be surprised. You can literally call up a place and get like a backstage tour of like all sorts of like companies and community helpers and things like that. They're willing to give you personalized tours throughout the week. Like, there's so many resources out there and experiences that homeschoolers get. I'm having fun with her as I go to these places. Like, it's so cool. Like, for example, like 911 tour, special like backstage police station tours. Honestly, I feel like sometimes I have more fun. Anyway, so there's resources out there. There's a lot of free like, those are free. Yes, there's some that's paid, but they're free. The library has tons of free resources and special like classes, right? Like those extracurricular classes, they're out there. There's a lot of free. Of course, there's the paid ones that you can do for extracurriculars, but there's a lot of free resources, and the library has tons of them. Support your local library. We are always there. Love it. We get our books, right, for learning, and then we also attend the classes. And then we're always finding new friends at the library, other homeschooling friends. There is so much you can do. Not only that, paid activities. There is ones that you can pay for. Extracurricular classes directly specifically for homeschoolers. There's also discounts. You get homeschool days and homeschool discounts at all your zoos, aquariums, museums, right? I'm saying a lot because I'm trying to remember, but there's a lot. There is what's called homeschool days and discounts that are specifically for homeschoolers. So you have options and resources, especially now that the homeschool community is booming. So there's a lot. And, this video is kind of long, but I'm trying to give you the best head start. Again, number 2 key, and that's how I wrote it, like the other key, is to release yourself from needing perfection or expecting it to look a certain way. Some days don't look the way I wanted, but we got through the day. We learned a couple, maybe we didn't meet all our goals for that day, but we did it, right? You're navigating, you're learning as you go along. Some things work, some things don't. Like, I know what worked for the first year, and I'm like, okay, I need to change these things for this year. And that's exactly what I did. I learned my lessons in that first year of kind of riding it out. And now I'm doing other things for this year. And so far it's been good. And releasing yourself from that, like, okay, like rigidness or whatever. Be flexible, be open-minded. Those are the keys to success. Listen to your child's needs. How do they learn? Because that's the best. Like, you need to learn, how does your child learn? And then as you start learning that, which I am, then you start to tailor what you do, don't do, what methods you use, how you can adapt. Because again, you don't have to like stick to one thing. Adapt based on how they're learning. And that's the next thing. I have a couple resources here. These are not all. I'm not going to make a whole, like, I'll probably make a separate video for that. I just wanted to show just some resources. But again, you're not. So another thing about homeschooling, you're not required to use a specific curriculum or a single curriculum for each subject. So for example, you don't have to buy a curriculum, let's say one curriculum for all subjects or a curriculum for each subject. You do as you want to tailor it, like, and you don't have to complete one from beginning to end, like based on the needs of the child, how you want to like mix and match, how you want to kind of like design or take out or add more of certain things. You can do that. And that's kind of what I do. I mix and match different curriculums. I do like the ones that give you like all the extra like kind of like supports, and the ones that kind of like map it out already for you. Because then what I like to do is I will take out or add more of whatever she needs more practice in. Then I can kind of more freely do that than just kind of like some people make up their own curriculum like from scratch, like based off of the subject goals and targets. I have too much. And I'm saying so much, but I'm trying to give you everything. I have too much on my plate and on my mind to try to make it up from scratch. So I like to get one that tells me what to do, plans it, gives me the resources, and gives me the flexibility to take away, do extra as we see fit. So right now I'm using The Good and the Beautiful for math and reading language arts. So I love that they have these extra resources. For example, math comes with a math box, and in it, all the pieces are not in it, but in it are resources that you use throughout the year. So we have a clock, mini clocks that we're learning time. We have coins, and I just dropped one, little coins where we're learning how to count like change and stuff like that. We have dice that has the numbers and left and right. We also have shapes that are not in there, and all of that is in there. It's all the manipulatives that you use with the course. The course tells you, literally says how to teach your child. Like, it gives you the descriptions. This is also has Bible references in The Good and the Beautiful for math and English. They both use, like, let's say in their little math stories, they'll reference like a Bible story or just like being good and moral. Like, it's those references in there that I love. Again, some people don't like it because there's a lot of like review and it's like that spiral method, but it works for us. I do see, like, as time go on, people might get a little, like the kids might get a little kind of like grow out of it, the repetition. But again, I love that when we want to have the extra practice, we do. You take away, add as you please. I can mix and match based on how I want to, and it works for my kid. I love that the reading comes with this. Again, Good and the Beautiful. It has, again, biblical references, which I love. Wholesome stories. This comes with all these little books, and it goes based off of what's the target of, like, phonetically, etc. Love it. I love that we can pick and choose, as we go based on what we're working on, read what we want to read. Again, that's The Good and the Beautiful. It also comes with these, what's considered booster cards. And again, you go at your pace. And it has, again, a review and targets based on what's the goals. Love it. Has stickers that they can put at the bottom when they kind of meet their goals. But again, I love to get these kind of like ones that have it all, so that you have the freedom to mix, match, and just add extras. Like yesterday, she wanted to play more of something, and I added it in there. Great. There's also Masterbooks. I don't have it on me. I'm not necessarily using Masterbooks this year. Masterbooks it's a Christian curriculum. It has they have their own math, reading, and a lot of Bible studies and things like that. They have great resources, but it's a little I would say, so The Good and the Beautiful is a little ahead. Masterbooks is more like a little behind. But again, it all depends on your kid. It's just a more slower, gentle approach versus The Good and the Beautiful is like more challenging, which I like because, again, I can adjust the pace. So I like that it has the more challenging, because if I see it's like, okay, this is a little too much, I'll scale back. It gives me that flexibility. Whereas Masterbooks was like a little too slow, but it's a gentle approach and a great way to start. But Layla does love these. And I believe, MB from Masterbooks. These are kind of like interesting to read. It's the answers book for kids, and it basically asks questions, like random questions of the Bible. And like, how is this, history, points in history biblically accurate, basically. And it gives cool little answers, and it just like, it makes space for interesting conversation. So again, lots of resources. I did start with in kindergarten at the very beginning. We're in first grade now, but we started with Hooked on Phonics online subscription. It was like less than $10, maybe $10 a month. You get a practice writing packet, and you get books monthly, and an app that comes with app games and all that. And that's how we started with our phonics practice. Amazing, inexpensive, so simple to start. Right now we're working on, so Not Consumed has some great Bible studies. I've been wanting to try them, but I'm finally giving them a try. Right now, 6-year-old, again, a little sassy, kind of testing limits and all that. I like to keep things kind of like grounded in scripture and like having those conversations with her. So we're doing a Bible study right now on obedience. Obey. I love it because it starts like, what is obedience in the Bible? What does it mean? What does God want us to, And again, look, to obey is to listen to God's voice and follow his command. Listen and follow. Gives you scripture and activity and discussion. Boom. Everything you need. Love it. I'm learning too, and we get to have this good biblical discussion. So again, that was just rambling a little bit because I can do a whole separate video. This video is getting officially too long, but I hope that I answer your questions. I'm going to put in the description box all the resources that I listed. Again, there is way more. I'm just kind of giving you what I've used, what's working for us right now, but just where to get started on your homeschooling journey. I hope that's been helpful. And again, don't be afraid to reach out to a homeschooling mama. They will definitely be more than happy to answer your questions and get into that conversation. Trust me. So even if you don't know them personally, just be like, I'm curious about homeschooling. Can you tell me what's your experience like? And again, there is no, even if there's some of those that will be like, oh, you have to do this like this. Nope, wrong. Great thing about homeschooling is you can do as you see fit and what fits your family lifestyle and your goals and preferences. I hope this helped. I am here to help, and again, talk all things households, Christian households, and parenthood, mom life, kids, children, marriage, all that. Okay, here to help. Thank you again for tuning in to Raising Truth podcast, and I hope that you tune in next time.